Get in, nerds. We are playing World War II Armored Recon. So, we are here defending our man Baume as he attempts to do something in this airplane hangar. My thanks, mon ami, Baume says. When you can shield us no further, we shall withdraw. Resolute in what needs to be done, you return to the Ulysses. The engine is still idling. Shutting it off requires more than a few minutes of waiting and also risks not being able to start it back up again. Something that would be very bad right now. There is dust rising in the east, no more than a mile out. Mendoza passes over the binoculars and helps you line up. Through the field glasses, you can clearly see the shadowy shapes amid the dust, and two vehicles further out front. The one in the back is a clearly typical desert truck with a canvas covering. The other is a tank, a Panzer. It's a Panzer III, a medium tank with heavier armor and a bigger cannon than you've got. Alright, so options are to touch base with each of our fellows. Get started buying time for Sergeant Baume, recall the details of the Panzer Mark II, or forget this crap, wait 2 minutes, and then go get Baume. First, I'm going to recall the details of the Panzer Mark III. I think I said 2 a second ago, but it's 3. The Panzer III is a medium tank design, and one that the Germans have continually upgraded over the years. There may be some older models somewhere, but they supposedly only ship the good stuff over. Given the length of the barrel and the bulky armor, this is probably the L variant, 50mm cannon. So remember, compared to ours, it's a 37mm. So 50mm cannon with some serious armor-piercing rounds, a buffed 20mm armor plate in the front portion of the turret. Wow, that's a lot of armor. And hull to add to the 50mm homogeneous steel plate already there. And of course, there's the usual machine guns as well. And it's not fast at 25 miles per hour, but it's headed straight towards the airfield. Time to go buy some time for Sergeant Baume. You sure, Sarge? Owen says after you give him a soft kick to get going. Never squeeze the odds or you'll never roll the dice. And Nelson says, this whole war is just one big roll. Mendoza nods at that. Okay, so our options are move forward, start taking shots, hide the tank in plane wreckage, or go hull down in ruined emplacements. As always, I'm playing a little Stewie. Our advantage here is in speed. I don't want to go hull down because I want to be hidden. Because I don't want to be stuck in one place. Well, although... No. I'm going to hide the tank in the plane wreckage. You give the order, and Owens maneuvers the Ulysses amid a pile of wreckage. A hangar would afford more complete cover, but also deny you a shot. You're no anti-tank gun to, quote, hide and hope, unquote, waiting to surprise the enemy that might never come, or worse, flank you. The tank pops a little red flag in the back, and the driver diverts to cover behind a low hill. The radio crackles. Nelson cups a hand to his headphones. It's in German, Sarge. Interesting. Again, Schneck, platoon leader. Calling our airfield guests. Hello, Americans. A voice, heavily accented, crackles almost cheerfully over the radio. Do you hear me? If you are having trouble, come out into the sun. For now, it is but the two of us. A merry chuckle follows. Nelson, is that the enemy tank? Wish we had some way to respond. Oh well. There's no point in talking with the enemy, especially not now. This is curious. Nelson, is that the enemy tank? I guess so. I'd guess so, Nelson replies. So we have two options. Wish we had some way to respond, oh well, and there's no point in talking to the enemy, especially not now. I'm going to say wish we had some way to respond, oh well. I have the pleasure to be Lieutenant Ernst Staudenmeier of the Klaus Udolf. The German's voice croons over the radio. It is a shame that our acquaintance will be short, but that is war. Staudenmeier's tank continues to draw closer to the airfield. Okay. Consider the odds, open fire, stay hidden, attempt to maneuver into a hull down position, rush beyond the perimeter toward the enemy, maneuver out but stay within the bounds of the airfield. I want to stay hidden. Well, let's consider the odds briefly. The Panzer III outweighs, out-armors, and outguns you, and its front is facing in your direction. Long odds, to say the least. You can only hide for so long before a Staudenmeier will find you. I'm going to stay hidden. Again, I want a flanking shot. Staudenmayer's tank fires, tearing down a portion of the control tower that had yet to fully collapse. Dust spews everywhere. Come out, he suggests over the radio. Let us play Fangenspielen instead. Several of Baume's men hustle out of the hangar. Okay. Same set of options. Open fire, stay hidden, attempt to maneuver into a hull down position, rush beyond the perimeter toward the enemy. Maneuver to stay out within the bounds of the airfield. I'm going to stay hidden. Staudenmayer's tank fires. The airplane hull that had been your concealment shatters into countless splinters that tinkle off the hull with a chorus of 1,000 wind chimes. Du bist! Staudenmayer calls out over the radio. A bright orange flare launches into the air above the battlefield. You follow the arc back to the ground and find Sergeant Baume gesticulating for you to slip out of hiding. At your command, Owens does just that. The maneuver is sharp and sudden, and soon enough, Baume and his men clamber aboard. The Ulysses clatters rapidly away from the airfield, slipping over the hill. You glance back and see Staudenmayer's tank nosing into a perimeter stuffed with burning wrecks and dusty ruins. The long barrel of its cannon rises to track you, but then you're over the rise, and the round cracks harmlessly overhead. With absolutely no reason to linger, you give the order and maneuver eastward to hopefully rejoin Blade Force before the sun sets. He will, yeah, brother. Alright, so, that's a successful, we did it. We did it, and we did it by being a light tank. Not getting stupid, and doing and being cognizant of our surroundings and all that. So, I can save my checkpoint and continue to Chapter 5, and continue to Chapter 5 without saving this checkpoint, or I can restore the previous checkpoint at the end of Chapter 3. I'm going to save and continue to Chapter 5, as I've been doing, and we got plenty more time for this episode, so we'll continue. 1800 hours, Wednesday, 25th November, 1942. The Ulysses rumbles westward as the bright golden sun touches the dark horizon. The land becomes one vast silhouette, with light and shadow competing in the spaces between. Crépuscule, Sergeant Baume says to his fellow soldiers, and looks at you. Dusk soon. Dangerous to drive. Dangerous to be out alone. True, turn on the lights. We should camp. Nod. Okay. So this is interesting. I'm going to nod and see what he has to say. It's true. Dawn and dusk are hard on the eyes. If the Germans have patrols out, and you bet they will, then trying to move around without the benefit of day or night is a very dangerous thing. You give the... Okay, so we're going to camp. You give the order, and Owens maneuvers the Ulysses into a hull-down position. With that bit of cover secured, Baume's men hop off, followed swiftly by her crew, save for Nelson, as he performs the usual engine cooldown. Let them rest. Ponder what Mendoza may have learned from the airport. Spend gunner XP. Consider what Owens may have learned from today's maneuvers. Spend driver XP. Wonder what Nelson will learn from today's foray. Spend mechanic XP. Or consider what I've learned from the dash into Tunisia. Let's do a quick peruse of our stats again. Let's do the story-based format. And let's see what the crew looks like in story-based. So gunnery expert, driving trained, mechanical trained. Okay, that's Mendoza. Driver, gunnery expert, driving expert, mechanical trained. Okay. And then mechanical expert, gunnery trained, driving unskilled. Okay, so that's interesting. Let's pull back to the stat screen and go back to the numbers. And, yeah, let's see. Let's return to the game. So we'll start by spending our gunner XP. Ponder what Mendoza may have learned from the airport. He has 13 XP. Gunnery, shooting. It's the reason we're out here. Tanks, trucks, airplanes trying to take off, they're all targets. Mendoza has fired a lot of rounds recently. I've turned to my thoughts about Mendoza. I'm not sure what that means. He's damn good, but I know he can be better. raises gunnery skill. He should coordinate with Owens more, raises driving skill. Mendoza has been a help to Nelson with maintenance, and that should continue. Raises mechanic skill, or he's our primary spotter, raise observation. I'm gonna do one of each of these and see how much I've got left. So coordinate with Owens more, that's 1 XP. Okay, so the XP costs reset. It's damn good, but I needs help with maintenance. 1 XP spent. He's our primary spotter. Observation slightly increased, 2 XP spent, and he's damn good, but I know he can be better. 4 XP spent. Alright, so it doesn't fully reset. And then turn to my thoughts about Mendoza. Alright, consider what Owens has learned from today's maneuvers. Owens has 6 XP. Back home, he could be in a race car, spend XP, raise his driving skill. Owens will be a help to Nelson with maintenance, spend XP, raise his mechanic skill, or he'll be the first to spot something in the road, spend XP, raise observation. So I don't think I can raise his gunnery, which is interesting. We'll start with we'll start with observation. It costs 2 points. He's only got 4. I'm gonna say back home he could be in a race car and raise his driving skill. That's gonna cost all 4. Yeah. All right. Consider what Nelson has learned from today's extended foray. Nelson has 9 experience points to spend. Nelson will definitely talk about all that he's learned. You're quite certain of that. He should have his own garage back home. Spend XP, raise his mechanic skill. He could learn something from Mendoza. Spend XP, raise his gunnery skill. Nelson needs to coordinate with Owens. Spend XP, raise his driving skill. Or he's not as busy as the others, as that leaves time to be alert. Raise XP, raise observation. Or spend XP, raise observation. Or Nelson continues to support me. Spend XP, raise leadership. I'm going to go for some leadership. He's always been there through the worst of times. Leadership slightly increased. That one didn't cost experience. I think that's a bug, but that's okay. He's not as busy as the others. That leaves time to be alert. Raise observation. That's 2. Nelson needs to coordinate with Owens. Raise his driving skill. That's 4. Okay, interesting. I wonder if there's like a collective thing going on here. Because I thought his driving was not that high. I'm going to turn to my thoughts about Nelson. I do want to give him a little bit more. I do want to save a little bit more for mechanic. Oh, and I can't go back in. Well, that's fine. All right, consider what I've learned on the dash into Tunisia. Today was filled with joint maneuvers and German opposition, both on land and in the air. This wasn't the French or Italians, that's for certain. You have 10 experience points to spend. Owens and I must communicate more rapidly. 3 XP, increased driving. The desert is hell in a tank, so is combat. 2 XP, increased mechanic. Gunnery was vital today. 2 XP, increased gunnery. I'm beginning to get a feel for the terrain. 1 XP, increased leadership observation. The crew needs my leadership out here. 1 XP, increased leadership. We're on our own living out of a tank. 1 XP, increased logistics. I don't really know what the plan was back there, but I know what we did. Spend 1 XP, increased doctrine. Once again, I'm going to start with all this other stuff. In the back, I think I really need... These are cheap on my experience, but also it's really good to increase all of these. The one question I need to ask myself is, do I want to... If I don't spend this 1 point, I can get all 3 of the main 3 skills. I feel like the crew have got observation pretty well handled, so I'm going to grab driving, gunnery, and mechanic. Alright, and then let's take a quick look at stats. So, 58% zeal, 53% delegation, 51% adaptation. That's pretty okay. Leadership is at 52%. Logistics at 21%, doctrine at 27%, career still only at 12%. Let's review the tank. Ulysses has seen better days. Left armor damaged, rear armor damaged. Fuel mostly full. Radio, no additional modifications. 1 radio part available. K rations. Soundproofing enabled. Little Joe's running just fine. Medical supplies, first aid package. First aid pouch with a Carlisle bandage and sulfa packets. Okay. Review my men. So Mendoza is wounded. He's at 522. Owens is okay. He's at 251. Nelson is okay. He's at 114. Again, I thought I was going to be able to get mechanical up to 5. I wasn't. Let's return to the stat screen. Observation at 51%. I'm very satisfied with that. So we'll focus on main stats for now. Let's return to the game. You're here to fight, and shooting accomplishes that. Gunnery skill increased, 2 XP spent. The German... Curious. Oh, that's just the last bark from the last conversation. The Germans have been at this for a long time, and what they've learned, they're certainly teaching you. The sun slides entirely from sight, leaving only a purple twilight behind. Sergeant Baume and his men stir as the shadows lengthen. This quiet little reprieve is over. It is now dark enough for the Ulysses to maneuver without becoming a serious target. Consider what needs to be done. Travel in the dark. The Ulysses needs servicing. Our crew could use a good meal and a little rest. Tune in the radio. Pause to treat the wounded. Perhaps I should reconsider my command style. So, the Ulysses definitely needs servicing, but let's pause to treat the wounded. The scars of war run deep, but some are more fresh. Sergeant Baume has begun to see to his men, but their injuries are limited to hands where metal or stone has bitten. Mendoza grimaces when he has to move his arm. That sheared-off bolt must have done a trick on him. Consider our medical options. We don't have anything to treat Mendoza. We don't have anything in the pouch to treat me. We've done what we can. Consider our medical options. Nothing. Okay, never mind. We've done what we can. Okay, so I need to be more conscientious about finding medical supplies because what's in the pack is just nothing. Okay, didn't realize. Wounds have been disinfected and wrapped. Time to get back to things. The last sun disappears, leaving a starry sky in its wake. Consider what needs to be done. There's quite the journey ahead. The Ulysses has a track clatter and an engine vibration that you do not like at all. The crew is little better off, trading yawns back and forth. The Ulysses needs servicing. So we can inspect the Ulysses, we can focus on the track, we can tend to the engine, we can see what we can do about the busted armor. Let's focus on the track. Nelson gets to work surveying the rattling track. After all, if that breaks, then you aren't going far. Only after he's satisfied with the new alignment of the treads does his attention turn elsewhere. Tank reliability increased. The moon rises, nearly full and rather bright. So, let's take a look at the tank. Ulysses is a bit under the weather. Alright, return to the game. We gotta deal with that engine. A little more work on the Ulysses would be appropriate. Tend to the engine. Nelson gets to work tracing the vibration of the drive shaft back to the engine itself. After all, if that busts, it's going to be a long walk back. Only after he's satisfied with the cleaning of a cylinder does he turn his attention elsewhere. After checking on the drive shaft, Nelson starts in on all the little things that still need to be done. Tank reliability increased. Options are travel in the dark. Our crew could use a good meal and a little rest. Tune in the radio. Pause to treat the wounded. Perhaps I should reconsider my command style. I would love to give them a little rest. But we've got a good opportunity to get moving. So let's travel in the dark. Fuel expended. The Ulysses clatters forward, its engine rumbling across the night-swept hills. It's hard to say how many miles you have to go. Blade Force can't have traveled far with that many vehicles. They'll be near the road, which is a help, but they'll also be primed to shoot anything coming at them in the dark, which is less of a help. Unfortunately, the Germans will also be near the same road, which means you can't be. Go overland, slow and steady. Find a simple trail and follow it, or just head west. Interesting. Let's find a simple trail and follow it. There are plenty of simple tracks used by wagons or animals, though the Ulysses is well suited to traversing. Though the Ulysses is less well suited to traversing that than a hard-packed road, the very nature of the treads allows you to do so. In fact, tanks were specifically designed for that reason. If roads were the only way to get around, then they would have given you wheels instead. 2 hours passed, tank reliability decreased, adaptation slightly increased. Dark enough for you, Mendoza? Nelson calls out over the intercom. Black is good coffee, Mendoza replies. Either way, he's right, Owens says, fingers tight around the driving levers. Wish I had some right now. After a couple of hours following the moonlit track, you take stock of the situation. The moon is high in the sky. Continue the nighttime travel. Our crew could use a good meal and a little rest. Tune in the radio. Pause to treat the wounded. Perhaps I should consider my command style. I'm going to tune into the radio. Let's see what happens. The flick of a switch is followed by a whine of a dyno motor as the radio receiver heats up toward operation. Nelson eagerly watches the orange bulb of the call signal light, waiting to tune to a non-standard frequency. On a good night, when the atmospherics are right and if the operator has a light touch, you can pick up ball games out of New York. But if not, then you might still get BBC out of London. However, tonight, given the hearty crackle of static, it looks like you'll have to tune into a more local station. The signal bulb brightens to an orange glow. Nelson tunes slow and steady, the crackle of the local bands leaking out from the headset. A trio of soft chimes and then a voice. "Hello, idiots, it's Alessandra again," she begins with her usual grace. Despite her opening insult, her silky tones beg you to listen, as if she's run up a flight of stairs just to greet you. Alessandra Arditi, straight out of fascist Italy. At least the music will be good. Have to wonder where they broadcast from in Italy? Turn the radio off. No, I'm not listening to enemy agate prop. Alessandro Arditi is a poisonous influence. You give the order, and Nelson looks back at you. No! Nord! That's definitely in the footage. Alright, well, fine. "Sarge, I was just hunting for enemy signals," he says, and hurriedly adjusts the frequency. Nelson methodically tunes the radio. A crackle rises. A German phrase barks through the air. "Ah, now there's music," Sergeant Baume says as Nelson slowly clears the static. "The Germans are in Lager, a temporary camp for the night. There's a second force some distance away. They acknowledge each other." Then a fresh voice and a familiar one. Staudenmeier, the Panzer III commander from the airfield. Staudenmeier is upset. Apparently he's at the airbase overnight and won't be able to catch up with the others tomorrow. "The Germans are going to attack," Sergeant Baume says. "Of that, we may be certain." "That's good to know." Nod. "That's good to know," I'm going to go with. "A man who is to hang at midnight has a long day to prepare," Sergeant Baume notes. "If the Germans are on the offensive, then Blade Force must be ready for them." "Okay, Nord, dial it back." If the Germans are on the offensive, then Blade Force must be ready for them. Ponder what I know, move on to other things, see if anyone else is talking. I'm going to ponder what I know. That the enemy column of tanks is on the move, and you'll... Okay, Nord. Is on the move, and you'll know where they're headed. No doubt they'll have air cover like they had today. Move on to other things, see if anyone else is talking. See if anyone else is talking. You adjust the receiver megahertz by megahertz, but nothing comes in clearly. There is some distant chatter from Sicily, but it's the faintest of things, barely above the background crackle of the atmospherics. Move on to other things. As always, there's a lot of work to be done. Sadly, there isn't a lot of light to work with. The moon could not be higher in the sky. Nord, quit it. Let's continue the nighttime travel. I wish we could rest, but I've got to get back to Blade Force. Though you've recently covered a lot of ground, Blade Force is still nowhere to be found, but it has to be somewhere. Then you see it, there in the west, behind the craggy silhouette of mountains, a bit of white smoke. The Germans won't be so foolish, Baume calls over the din. They make mistakes too. Unfortunately, I agree, we've got a lot to learn. Maybe. I'm going to go with the second one. Unfortunately, I agree, we've got a lot to learn. Learn early, not late, Baume says. His next words are whipped away by a blast of cold wind and sand. The Ulysses is pelted, then rocked. There's a storm or something coming up from the south. And there are stars on the horizon to the south. Ask Baume what it is, rack my brain to figure out what it could be. This desert's full of tricks. Baume, what's going on here? Could be a sirocco, he yells over the din, sand and grit battering him. Or in the season, could be very bad. On the back of the tank, Baume's men huddle up beneath blankets as they prepare to ride this out in misery. Halt until this passes. If they can bear it, we'll keep the paths westward. Slow down just in case the worst happens. Speed up a little while the storm covers us. I'm going to halt until this passes. I don't want to risk this. You give the order, and Owens shifts into neutral, then pulls back on both steering levers. The Ulysses clatters to a halt, and the wind continues to rock you back and forth ever so slightly as sand steadily abrates the steel. Up top, you hear the distant thump of boots as Baume and his men drop off onto the ground. You can only imagine them trying to shelter in the lee of the hull, trying to stay out of the biting sand that even now tries to leak in through the viewing slits. Tank reliability very slightly decreased. 2 additional hours pass. Baume's trust increased. After an hour or so, the wind begins to relent. A call down to Baume loads his frazzled men back up, and then you resume the movement westward. The eastern horizon... Yes, I know. I got it. nor, Jesus, dial it back. After an hour or so, the wind begins to relent. A call down to Baume loads his frazzled men back up, and with that you resume the movement westward. The eastern horizon brightens from black to gray, promising a new day. Another crash boom thunders amid the dawn. You glance to the side and find an American half-track burning, the 75mm cannon on its bed toppled and the crew scattered. You enter the mountain pass to find company waiting, friendly company. Nearly 20 Stuarts are positioned ahead, their crews scrambling around to make ready for the impending onslaught. Driscoll's there too, and he waves you into position alongside the others. Glad you could make it, Sergeant, Driscoll practically shouts above the din of your engine. You took your sweet time, didn't you? Germans are coming, yeah? Yeah, they'll tell you themselves in just a few minutes. Panzer 3s and 4s. Panzer 3s and 4s. Across the way, Driscoll curses under his breath. Couldn't just be some Italians, could it? The radio crackles. Driscoll reaches down and puts on his headset. Over the radio waves, you hear his voice much clearer. All right, quick draw platoon, here's the plan. The Germans come in, we hit them hard and back away slow, Driscoll says. If you get hit, bail. If you break down, bail. Otherwise, keep throwing fire until you run dry. Got it? You signal your acknowledgement. So do the other tank commanders. Only then does Driscoll turn east to face the column of rising dust. The Germans love to be punctual, but our rifles cannot pierce their armor, Baume says as his infantrymen dismount. So this is au revoir. His grin is a knowing one. With that, the French hurry westward toward a gathering of trucks further along in the pass. In this fight, they'd just be casualties. The boom crack of cannons echoes through the morning air. Tank destroyers, little more than an artillery piece strapped to the back of a half-track of open fire. Soon enough, smoke rises from the olive grove you passed by. The sentries there are doing their part. But not for long. The thunder of return fire is a constant one, and soon enough the half-tracks pull back, racing into the pass, with their crews hanging on for dear life. No real armor, just accuracy. It's a wonder they're not all dead. That one is smoking. A near miss ignited the canvas cover. 75mm cannon didn't seem to outrange the Germans very much. I'm going to go with the third one. 75mm cannon didn't seem to outrange the Germans very much. Logistics very slightly increased. The German 4s are a beast, no doubt about it. All the range and power of the best American cannon with plenty of armor to stop the same. Nelson gives the fuel tank a measured thump. There's not much in there. Maybe a battle's worth, maybe not. Let me fuel her up with our extra, Sarge, he says, and there's no reason not to let him do just that. All the gas in cans is no good if the tank runs dry. You shift the turret basket to give him a path, and he clambers out. He puts enough in, a steady glug that fills things up for the battle ahead. That done, he crawls back down into his seat within the hull. How many Germans do you think there are? Owens asks as the Germans keep on coming. All of them, Nelson replies. Okay, dibs on Hitler. At least 30 Panzer tanks, maybe more in the dust behind. They want to roll over us. Their numbers equal ours, medium versus light. Medium tanks versus light. I'm going to pick the first one. Observation slightly increased. The dust obscures everything behind them. Could be more tanks, could just be trucks. They'll have range on us, Mendoza says, starting at 3,000 yards. A glance at the rangefinder reveals they're about to enter that very range, and still the enemy doesn't slow down. They won't penetrate at that range, though. If they don't open fire, we'll know their ammo is limited. Not while they're moving. Even the Germans aren't that good. If they don't open fire, we'll know their ammo is limited. Mendoza nods. 3,000 yards. 2,000. 1,000. The moments are as long as a summer's day. Puffs of smoke are up from the enemy tanks. Others follow suit. I'm going to show stats. Can I look at my ammo? Review the tank. Not really. Alright. Return fire. The cannon cracks out. A round races down and slams into the lead enemy. The Panzer keeps coming. Hold, damn it, Driscoll shouts over the radio. Hold until you can penetrate. But your shot leads the others as... Oh, I thought we were already shooting. Oh, that's my bad. Alright, your shot leads to others as more Stuarts open up. You watch in disbelief as several of the rounds strike and merely bounce off the enemy's armor. Motor forward, we've got to close the range. Stay in line. Back away, keep the range open. Motor forward! You give the order and the Ulysses rolls forward, closing the range. Take stock, get down to the turret so they don't get shot. Find a target, accelerate forward, halt, hold fire and wait for an opportunity. Accelerate forward! You give the order and Owens upshifts. The engine roars as the Ulysses surges forward. Take stock, find a target, hold fire, wait for an opportunity. Find a target! The Germans aren't running out of tanks anytime soon. Take a look at the enemy armor, target a Panzer III, target a Panzer IV. Take a look at the enemy armor. The enemy is fielding two kinds of tanks. Panzer IIIs are their dependable workhorses, the Panzer IVs are better armed and armored, but either one could pierce the Ulysses armor with cannons far larger than your 37mm. You would have to work to do the same. Target a Panzer III. There's so much going on, but even so, you strive to keep the target from dancing away. The order has to come from you. Mendoza figures out a shot. All the while, the Ulysses heads onward. The Panzer III to remain steady. Your main gun bangs out. The round scrapes off some paint on the Panzer III's side and nothing more. That's a miss, Nelson calls out. What do you need, Gunny? Owen says. Steady up, Mendoza replies. The hull rocks as a shell zips past. The Ulysses races on, plunging into their formation. The enemy's gray tanks carve their way through the desert. Get down to the turret so they don't get shot. Take stock. Keep firing that Panzer III. Go full out. Slow down. Wait for an opportunity. Go full out! You give the order and Ulysses puts it into high gear. The tanks rattle. The engine strains. The Ulysses thunders forward. Keep firing on that Panzer III. At last you concentrate as best you can. The order has to come from you. Mendoza lays his finger along the trigger and the Ulysses stays with the enemy. The Panzer III continues to shift around. Your cannon barks. The round slams into the side of the Panzer III and rattles around a little. Moments later, the German crew bails out. One less Panzer, Nelson crows above the din. Why isn't it on fire? Owens asks. Next, Mendoza calls out. The crack of a cannon. The ground explodes nearby and showers you with slicing bits of rocks. Health very slightly decreased. The Ulysses races on, straight into the midst of their formation. American rounds pepper the Germans. To your amazement, some of them bounce right off the armor without any penetration. Even those that strike the side or rear do the same. Through the swirls of dust, you spy a whole line of tanks cresting a nearby hill. American tanks, the rest of Blade Force, and they're in perfect formation. The once steady German line begins to break up as rounds begin to slam into their flanks. Several of the tanks slow and turn to face the new threat. Take stock, get down to the turret so that I don't get shot. Switch that from that Panzer III, slow down a little, hold fire and wait for an opportunity. Okay, I'm going to switch from that Panzer III because it's bailed out. Switch to a different Panzer III, switch to a Panzer IV. You know what? Go for the gold. Switch to a Panzer IV. At last, you center on the target. The order has to come from you. Mendoza shifts the cannon slightly as the Ulysses pushes toward the enemy's rear. The new Panzer IV to shift around. Your main gun bangs out. The round scrapes off some paint on the Panzer IV's side and nothing more. Nothing, Owens calls out. Not yet, anyway, Nelson replies. Mendoza stays silent and focused. A shell explodes overhead, pummeling your ears and showering you with shrapnel, health very slightly decreased. The Ulysses races on, and you rumble in the midst of their formation. The Germans have halted amid the swirls of dust. Their turrets shift toward a flanking force as American rounds rebound off their turrets without even the smallest puff of an explosion. Take stock. Get down to the turret so they don't get shot. Keep firing on that Panzer IV. Slow down a little. Hold fire. Wait. Keep firing on that Panzer IV! Mendoza lines up the shot as the Ulysses rushes onward with the enemy all around. The Panzer IV continues to shift around. Your cannon barks. A round scrapes off the Panzer IV's side. A hit, Nelson calls out. A palpable hit? Owens asks. Lots of armor, Mendoza replies. The shell explodes overhead, pummeling your ears and showering you with shrapnel, health very slightly decreased. The Ulysses races on, and you keep pace with them amid their formation. The Germans begin to back into their own dust plumes. American rounds at last begin to hammer their armor, stripping away chunks of steel with each impact. Why won't that Panzer IV die? Fire again! Mendoza lines up a shot as the Ulysses rushes toward the heart of the enemy foundation. The Panzer IV continues to remain steady. A thin stream of smoke drifts out of its rear compartment. Your main gun bangs out. The already damaged Panzer IV is caught mid-maneuver, and the round strikes the rear. The whole thing lurches to a halt, and the crew bails out moments later. Yeah! Owens calls out. That's two, Nelson crows above the din. Find me a third, Mendoza demands. The crack of a cannon. The ground explodes nearby and showers you with slicing bits of rock. Health very slightly decreased. Alright, I might need to get down into the turret, because I'm taking a lot of damage. The Ulysses races on, and you keep pace with them amidst their formation. The Germans have taken your flanking force under fire as they continue to back away into the dust cloud. I'm going to get down to the turret, because I'm taking a lot of damage. You drop down into the turret and take position beside Mendoza. Through the view slit, the entire landscape is swathed in dust and grime. Switch from that Panzer IV. Shift your attention. We're going to switch to a Panzer III. At last, you strive to keep the target from dancing away. Your crew holds for your order. Mendoza lines up a shot as the Ulysses pushes toward the enemy's rear. The new Panzer III to roll along. Your engine kicks. The round flies right past the Panzer III. "Oh for 3, Nelson calls out above the din. "We're like the Cleveland Indians. Or the Brooklyn Dodgers, Owens declares. "We're not the Browns either," Mendoza says, mostly to himself, then loads another shell. The hull sways as a near mist slides past. The Ulysses races on, and you keep pace with them amid their formation. The Germans continue their withdrawal, the dust plumes all but obscuring them. So I can take stock, I can open the hatch and peer out so we can shoot and maneuver better. I can keep firing. On that Panzer III, I can slow down a little, or I can hold fire and wait for an opportunity. I'm going to take stock. Reveals the Germans are almost certainly about to retreat. The Ulysses is well ahead of the American baiting force and going flat out. Mendoza is still tracking, though. Let me see. They're retreating. Just keep firing on that. Let's slow down a little bit. Smack to the helmet is all you need to give Owens to slow things down for your breakneck speed. Keep firing on that Panzer IV. There's so much going on, but even so, you center on the target. Everyone's waiting on you. Mendoza pivots slightly to take aim as the Ulysses rattles on to keep pace with the enemy. The Panzer III continues to roll along. Your main gun lets out a bang. The round scrapes some paint off the Panzer III's side and nothing more. Was that a misfire? Nelson asks. Kind of late to ask because it's the... Owens replies, because that's 3, isn't it? Is it 4 or more now? Mendoza yanks open the breech to load another shell. A puff of smoke, a dart of black. The ground explodes nearby and showers the turret with a scatter of rocks. The Germans complete their withdrawal, using their heavier armor and guns to swat down anyone who gets too close. The radio crackles. Driscoll's voice is flushed with relief and joy. Quick draw platoon! Hold up. Say again. Quick draw platoon. Hold your positions. Our reserves will pursue. Owens pulls back on the steering levers and brings the Ulysses to a halt as fresh reserves motor forward at breakneck speed. The enemy's panzers continue to fall back and leave behind half a dozen tanks. Their crews running hard to rejoin their fellows. A victory, a definite victory. Options are check in with Driscoll, go loot one of the panzers we shot up, scavenge something from one of the Stuarts that aren't burning, or go to work on the Ulysses instead. Let's check in with Driscoll. You find Driscoll moving tank to tank, checking on them in turn. When he notices your approach, he waves you over. Sergeant, what's the condition of your tank? He asks, career very slightly increased. Let's show the stats. Where is... Oh god, word health -2. It's not great. Review my tank. Ulysses is a bit under the weather. Alright, that's not so bad. We're intact. I'll consider what to say. No one's dead, and that's a good thing. The Ulysses has plenty of scars. Okay, we're intact. Good, Driscoll says. A lot of ours aren't. How'd we do? I noticed some of our rounds bounced off German armor like they were practice shot. Okay, sir, what's next? Wait for orders. I noticed some of our rounds bounced off the German armor like they were practice shot. Practice shot, Driscoll says. He blinks and stares a moment. Then his eyes widen. Come with me. Driscoll marches himself over to a truck parked nearby. 5-gallon cans of gas are being distributed, 1 per tank apparently, but he's not focused on that. Instead, he grabs the top of an ammo crate labeled 25 rounds complete shells AP. That's armor piercing. Underneath those stencil marks are 37mm. These are the kinds of rounds that we've been firing at the Germans earlier. He opens the crate easily. This has been opened before, he says, and stares inside. There are 25 slim 37mm shells inside. Someone repacked them. Did our guys prep these? Are they the right shells? I'm just going to ask if they're the right shells. We'll see, Driscoll says. First, we'll affirm where they came from. He summons over one of the ordnance sergeants and makes a quick inquiry. The shells came straight out of the truck before the truck they were unloaded at Algiers. I'm going to examine a shell. The shell's just all like the others you fired, clad in olive drab. A practice round would be painted blue with white lettering, impossible to miss. Driscoll runs a hand along the bottom of the crate and comes back with tiny chips, all olive drab. Chip away at the olive paint on the shell. You use a nail to remove a bit of the olive drab paint from the shell. Bit by bit, another layer, badly faded and colorless gray, is revealed. The lot numbers don't match, Driscoll says as he compares the stencil on the crate to the more simple numbers on the shells themselves. These weren't the original shells shipped over from Britain. And paint tells us someone was directly involved. If the lot numbers don't match, that means the shells got mixed with others. A lot could have happened en route. Salt water in transit, dust and rust getting in there. If the numbers don't match, that means the shells got mixed in with others. And paint tells us that someone was directly involved. I'm going to do the second one. Yeah, but when and why? Driscoll says and ponders the possible. Whatever the reason, someone repainted at least 1 crate of practice shells with olive drab. The shells were swapped out to hamstring us. A colorblind painter explains everything. Offer no hypothesis. I'm going to do the first one. Whatever the reason, someone repainted at least 1 crate of practice shells with olive drab. By the way, this is a thing that really happened. It was a huge problem. And when we needed ammo, they accidentally put the shells in a new crate, Driscoll says, and shakes his head. But why would they move them all? If the crate was badly damaged, sabotage, the docks employ local workers, don't they? Workers don't like the French. It probably repainted several crates worth all at once, then they had to put them back in. I'm going to go with the third one. This seems like a snafu more than anything. They forgot where they came from, Driscoll says. Yeah, I could see that. One big paint job, and they make sure each crate has 25. He taps the crate with his foot, and finding it firm, sets the shell back inside. This might be the Navy's problem, he says. Their guys are responsible for the crates. Hell, the Swabbies probably did the painting. Either way, there's going to be a report. Career increased. Excellent. Surviving crews clamber onto the back of the empty shells. The tanks finish fueling up and move onto the road. Leave the reports to me, Driscoll says as he walks with you back to the battlefield. You might have scored a kill, but though with everything that was going on, I couldn't really focus on it, and you were out front the whole time. Couldn't ask for more. Should be worth a medal. Now then, we're pretty well fought out, so we're headed back west going into reserve while we wait for the next batch of orders. Get your tank refueled and get on the road. Career and leadership increased, doctrine very slightly increased. His orders are clear. You round up with the crew and get the Ulysses ready to move out again. After all you've traveled, it'll be just another drive. Save my checkpoint and continue to Chapter 6, The Hampshires. Whew! That was frickin' wild. Alright. Despite some technical difficulties for both me and the United States Army, we successfully completed this episode. We killed a Panzer III, we killed a Panzer IV. I'm feeling pretty good. I made a good showing for myself. Let's take a look at career. I'm a career-minded fella. Yeah, 23%. We're doing it. Let's take a look at the narrative view. You've put in the paperwork to become an officer. Okay, all right. That's very good. I'm feeling very pleased about that. Go back to the statistics. Numeric-based form of health. So this is dying. Well, that's good. Maybe I can get promoted to a training commander or something back in the USA and not have to deal with all this. That'd be nice. Maybe I can get a Purple Heart. We'll see. Anyways, that is all the time we got for this episode, my nerds. I have had fun. I hope you all have had fun, and I will see you on the other side.